Hello there, it's Jenny McGarvey, and I have a brand new page to share with you. As you can see, I am peeling that background paper off of my silhouette mat. That is a cut file from Just Nick Studios, created by Nicole Noasad. I just took her simple scallops and repeated them all over the page so that I could have a repeating background. It's not a background cut file, but I made it into one, if that makes sense. I absolutely love it, and I'll probably do it again in the future. I think it really turned out pretty neat. I like the repeating feature and the scallop feature, and it's pretty simple, so I like that too. Now I'm using the Scraptastic Club Wednesday night kit. As you can see, I'm pulling out some items from that kit and I'm working on pairing things together that I want to use on this page, starting with different patterned papers to go behind those scallops. Now, as you can see in the video, I am measuring the different scallops, finding the different widths, since you can see there's two basic sizes for those scallops, and I want to make sure that I find the appropriate size to cut the strips to lay perfectly right behind there. You don't want them too big. I mean, bigger is better than smaller, but you don't want them too big because then they overhang and it's harder to adhere the whole thing together and that kind of stuff. So keeping it close to what you need is really honestly the best, and it doesn't take a whole lot of work. So now I'm cutting a bunch of the different pattern papers that came in the kit. That multicolored one at the top, that's October Afternoon, and the back side is that yellow with the white starburst or sunburst, which I absolutely positively loved that pattern paper, but I didn't know if I was going to use it or not because it's one of those ones that I feel like hoarding because I like it so much, but I don't like to hoard. So I decided, you know what, just cut into it. That's the best way to do it. So that aqua colored cardstock just makes me so happy. I love that color so much. And again, I don't use a whole lot of colored cardstock as backgrounds or anything like that. So I was really excited to cut into it and use it on this page because it adds a lot of beautifulness to the page. I also have a strip of pink cardstock, which I don't use a whole lot of pink cardstock either, being the mother of 3 boys. But I do like to incorporate some of those colors when I can, and since this is a page about family, ignore that photo of my dog that has fallen over into the workspace, I can add some pink elements to it since there are females in the picture, and I feel like having a family photo and having pink is totally not a big deal and actually encouraged. Now, as you can see, I used my ATG gun to apply some adhesive all over to the back of this page so that I can adhere my strips. The only difficulty is that denim sheet from We Are Memory Keepers. It's denim with white polka dots. It's really cool and I love the texture it adds. It's just a little bit harder to adhere to the page. And you absolutely could use some machine stitching as well. That would be really cool, especially with the denim. I adhered down that aqua cardstock with the sticker side up, so I had to peel that off. One might look where the sticker was before they stuck it down, but not me. I would want to stick it down and then peel it back up. That would absolutely be better. Obviously, I'm kidding. Anyway, so I'm just repeating the whole cycle over and over down the page to make sure I've got those pattern paper strips lining up with the scallops and so that they look good on the front, and then making sure they're stuck down well. I know in a previous video at some point I talked about adhesive and how along the way people always say, oh, you don't need that much adhesive, just a little bit here, a little bit there. Well, I've been scrapping for 14 years now, and I'm here to tell you that some of the items on my pages did fall off. And so I liberally use my ATG. It's super sticky and it's very cheap, so I don't feel bad about it. I'm adhering the rest of that patterned paper on the back just so it gives it a nice smooth finish when I slide it into the page protector. I wouldn't have to, but the pink I don't use very much, so it's okay for me to put it on the back. But you absolutely would not have to do that if you were going to do a page like this and you wanted to conserve cardstock. Now I'm pulling out some of the scraps from the kit that I have already so that I can create backgrounds to layer with my photo. I just have one 3x4 photo. I wasn't actually at this event, my kids and my husband were, but I still wanted to scrap it and I didn't get a very good photo. It just came from my husband's phone and the photo itself wasn't that great, so I wanted to keep the photo small as to not accentuate the not good nature of the photo. But it was a little bit better to keep it small anyway because then I can do a little bit more embellishing and that kind of stuff. So it's, you know, it all works out in the end. Even though I would rather have a larger photo, this particular situation, the smaller one is just fine. Now, I have a whole bunch of embellishments included in the kit. There's just more than a person would even know what to do with. And so I'm excited to start breaking some of those out and adding them to this page. It really can be hard to choose which embellishments to use. And for me, on a page like this, it's actually even a little bit harder because I can use pink, I can use other things that I wouldn't normally use, florals and stuff like that. So it's really fun. However, this particular frame is by Crate Paper in their Poolside collection, and it's from my stash. But I'm using the ephemera, the die kit, the cuts and stuff from Simple Stories, and then also these wooden pieces from Heidi Swapp. Now, this Heidi Swapp wooden piece, it's really cool. I love it right there. It works great, but I'm going to add a little pattern paper to the background because then I have a little bit more freedom to layer without you seeing it behind the heart. Now, you absolutely positively would not have to do this. I just wanted to be able to layer on top of and behind without it poking out and distracting me with the heart. Now the frame and the square go well together and they really add a lot of dimension to the page on that side, which again you wouldn't have to do with the die cuts, the scallops in the background. That gives it a lot of dimension and texture already, but I wanted to. So then you have the stickers, and I'm just sort of embellishing now using those Simple Stories items that I mentioned before. There's the bits and the pieces, and then also the 6x12 cardstock stickers. So I'm just going to add a little bit of this, a little bit of that to both corners of this photo. And it's really fun to get to play with some of these different elements that I wouldn't maybe gravitate towards because they were a little bit more feminine. But then I also want to add some of the exclusives. The flare is perfect. It fits nicely in those vellum cameras as well. And I just really like how they work together and they end up looking really super. And they are a perfect embellishment for this photo. Now it's a little bit hard to get that flare to attach using that acrylic camera because the acrylic is pretty thick and then the flare is pretty thick, and so I'm using a couple of the Thermoweb foam squares, and if you've ever used those, the Thermoweb ones are pretty thick themselves, so it's really popping off the page a whole lot. And I don't normally do that, and I wouldn't normally do it, but in this case it kind of had to be done, so it's okay. Now in order to get that, I have a little bit of trouble getting that arrow to stick. I use the foam square on the right side, and then in a little bit you'll see I have to come back and add a glue dot to it as well because it just won't adhere down correctly. Now I trim up that label, the cut apart label, to make it fit the way that I want it to on this page. It's a little bit long as it was originally, but I give it a little bit of a trim and then it's perfect right in that spot. Now I wanted to find one of those die cuts that would work in the upper left-hand corner and was something that would really not only fit the page but would fit my desire to use different things, since this is a different themed page. It's not a boy page, it's not a baseball page or something like that, so I can use some different elements. And so those little flags with the heart and the arrow are really cute and I like them a lot, and they work just fine on this layout. I go ahead and adhere them down because I'm pretty confident that I like that not only there, but I like using that element as well. As you can see, that's where I add the glue dot to that, making sure that it is nice and adhered to that page and it's not going to fall off like I talked about some of the embellishments have in the past. Now I pull out those brads, and those are really fun. They look like brads on the top. They are not brads on the back. They just have a nice sticky adhesive, and I really enjoy working with them. They're fun to use, and you don't have to poke holes in the paper or anything like that. And especially a page like this with the fabric on the back, it could have been a little bit more difficult. Now I'm just going to add the title, and that is it for this page. It was simple, it was easy, and especially thanks to that die cut from Just Nick Studios. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, please leave me a thumbs up. That lets YouTube know what you like to see, and it also helps me know that you like to watch my videos. Thank you so much for stopping by, and make it a great day.